let me give you your last round on the house. It was good to see you again.
So I have this hang-up about playing sequels before the games that they're sequels to. This even pertains to games that have pretty much no story, like the NES Mega Man games. But when the whole game is about story, well, that's when I really want to play the original first. Sure, I could have bought and downloaded Retropolis 1, The Secret of Retropolis on Steam or Quest, but as PSVR2 gamers, I don't think most of you have done that. I wanted to be in the same boat as all of you, and play Retropolis 2 Never Say Goodbye without any knowledge of the events of the first game. So, how did it turn out? Not bad, actually.
My luck. Do you mind if I take a sip of your drink?
Well, it is my drink. I was wrong.
Retropolis 2 kicks off with a fairly brief cutscene, letting you know what you missed out on last time. And once you get control, you're given one of those cool corkboards that you see in detective movies, linking all the suspects and evidence to the crime with thumbtacks and red string. And since the game gives you control of placing the photos and connecting them, Retropolis 2 is basically allowing you to figure out the facts of Retropolis 1 by putting the pieces together yourself. Now, that's a pretty sneaky way of delivering a backstory, and it's also a brilliant design decision. And because of this, no one should have any fear of jumping in without playing the original.
I couldn't trace where she's from. The factories in Retropolis don't make robots like Jenny.
As I've probably mentioned on the channel 100 times before, I was a massive fan of point-and-click adventures growing up. I played everything from King's Quest and Space Quest to Zack McCracken and Loom, but those days are definitely long behind me. And especially in VR, I have no desire to partake in long-winded conversations or trying to figure out puzzles with nightmarishly convoluted solutions. But when playing Retropolis, I pulled up a chair, I brewed some coffee, and I tried to soak up the more relaxed pace of the game, which meant I did everything in my power to enjoy what was on offer here. And it worked. But looking back on it, I honestly think that had less to do with me being in the right mindset and more to do with the developers at Peanut Button completely understanding that times have changed and you can't just throw old school point and click adventures into VR and make it work. So what they've done is set up something similar to I Expect You to Die, meaning in every location you sit in one room with no real locomotion, and using your go-go gadget arms you're able to interact with everything you see. I'd say most of the puzzles here make sense too, so you won't be furiously combining items for days just to end up with a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle of it. There are a couple generic Lights Out and Simon puzzles early in Chapter 1 that had me concerned, but the further you get into the game, the more complicated and honestly better the puzzles become. And you'll be doing traditional point-and-click stuff like backtracking all over this police station in Chapter 3 way longer than you'd expect.
Oh, I needed that. I've been so rusty lately.
Just like how the puzzles ease you into the game, the in-game characters also don't go overboard with the dialogue until they've hooked you into the story. Conversations at first aren't super long, and most of the characters get their point across well enough without prattling on endlessly. But as early as Chapter 2, you'll be having much longer conversations, getting to understand a much deeper story than the one that was first presented. But man, seriously, what is going on with the lead character's voice?
And every time I think I'm getting close, turns out to be just another dead end.
Maybe it's a personal preference, or maybe it's that I can't turn down the voices and turn up the great music, but it feels like his lines were recorded differently than the rest, or that he's trying to hide an accent or something. Whatever it is, it's distracting. And I feel bad for saying this, but every time he talked, I was wishing he was voiced by a more professional voice actor.
I've heard that you can find the magician in one of his illegal shows.
Is at the roulette table under deductible police.
One of the things I've been looking forward to for a while were seeing these graphics come to life in the headset. A simple, somewhat questified art style like this should allow these character models to pop off the screen like a Viewmaster. PSVR2 has these OLED screens that let colors shine and eye tracking that lets developers push the resolution through the roof. Now, don't get me wrong, the characters and environmental designs are nice and give Retropolis a distinct look, but there's a haze here over everything that keep the edges from being razor sharp, making everything look flatter and more lifeless than they're capable of being. And the mandatory sort of click-turning, sort of smooth-turning hybrid, it really sucks. You're better off just turning in real time.
Don't you remember anything? It's me.
If you're not sick of hearing me nitpick this game to death, well, that's too bad, because I'm sick of doing it, especially when it's not a bad game in the slightest. In fact, if you like point-and-click adventures like I do, then these complaints start falling by the wayside the more invested you get in the story. Basically, your girlfriend Jenny Montage has been captured and brainwashed by an evil entity known as the Magician, and as a detective, you're out to figure out who the bad guy is and rescue your girl. There's plenty of humor written into the script here too that didn't land quite right for me. But I did enjoy the references that range from Police Academy to Sam and Max, so if you're an older gamer, you'll probably appreciate more of the dialogue here than most.
There's something rotten here in the RPD, Philip, and it goes way up.
Your boss isn't here, right? I'm sure he'd love to come back to a clean and tidy office, wouldn't he?
Retropolis 2 Never Say Goodbye clocked in at just over 4 hours for me. Now, some of that was wandering around aimlessly, but I think overall, I played through it at a pretty good clip. It's charming as hell, the story's engaging, and with just a little more work on the graphical fidelity and the voiceovers, it could have been amazing. And listen, if you're like me and you thought you left these games in the past, give it a chance. You might be surprised.
You won't believe this, but I happen to have a special discount for secretaries who hate their bosses. For you, I'll even go in free of charge. What do you say?
And the fact that his office has sensitive police material in it is just a coincidence?
What are you talking about? I'm nothing but a hard-working robot who loves cleaning offices.
Oh, okay. Wait, just before you go in, where are your cleaning tools?
I've got my cleaning tools right here with me. In fact, I'm holding an invisible vacuum cleaner right now. See? Vacuum noise.
Sure. And tell me, what did you say your name was?